here today. It's great to see so many familiar faces and some faces that I just got an opportunity to learn a little bit more about and meet. And I'm happy that we can kind of be here to celebrate today. We launched EngagePGH as the city of Pittsburgh in 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can ensure that city residents had an opportunity to be informed and involved in city projects at a time when we really couldn't be together in person. And now we're here almost 4 years later, celebrating this citywide tool that has really changed how our city engages with its residents, how employees engage with each other, and how residents engage with one another. And I'm happy that we can be here to celebrate that today. But before we kind of dive in, I want to acknowledge what a labor of love this platform has been. And if I get a little teary-eyed, no, I didn't. You guys didn't see that happen. So I first want to acknowledge, Andrew Dash, and Sophie Robeson, and Derek Doffin, who is not here, and everyone in the Department of City Planning who really worked so hard to get this platform off of the ground when the city needed it the most. I want to acknowledge Leah Friedman, who was with us a little bit earlier today, for her passion with connecting with residents and building a foundation that really institutionalized a culture of engagement in the city and set me up for success in the 2 years that I managed the platform. I want to acknowledge every single project manager. If you're watching online or if you're watching this later, thank you. Thank you for using this tool. Thank you for meaningfully engaging with our residents, for caring that they're informed, and for wanting to make the city a better place for everyone. And finally, I want to thank and acknowledge Laura Tsutsui, who has taken the mantle of managing this platform and is doing a lot of work to drive it forward in ways that I never could and never had the capacity to do. So thank you. Yeah. So now, without further ado, I want to let someone else talk a little bit more about why we're here today. So we're going to hear from Erin Zimmerman, who is the executive director for IAP2 USA, to talk a little bit about the award and what we're doing here today.
Hello, I am Erin Zimmerman, executive director of IAP2 USA. I wish I could be there in person to celebrate with you all today, but know that I'm there in spirit. Public participation is based on the belief that those who are affected by a decision have a right to be involved in the decision-making process. IAP2 core values help define the expectations and aspirations of a public participation process. These values help guide engagement professionals in their work to support good P2. Each year, IAP2 affiliates around the world celebrate excellence in the profession through the IAP2 Core Value Awards. The awards go to projects and organizations which best demonstrate IAP2's core values and help to raise the bar in the field of public engagement by sharing best practices and inspiring the P2 community to learn from one another. The Organization of the Year Award recognizes the application of the core values in all aspects of an organization and how they are embedded into the decision-making process. It is a true honor to recognize the City of Pittsburgh as IAP2 USA's 2023 Organization of the Year. Your organization demonstrated a sincere commitment to improve public engagement outcomes across the organization, even in the midst of massive change. The process and development of your public engagement guide, toolkit, and framework for digital engagement is a shining example of how to embed engagement within a governmental organization. And that approach could easily create processes and results that would stand the test of time. Congratulations to the City of Pittsburgh, and thank you, Mayor Gainey, for your leadership and commitment to supporting authentic public participation.
So one thing that Erin spoke about is how the city of Pittsburgh has really embedded engagement into our processes. And she's honestly very right about that. I just want to take a minute and highlight some of the things that our many different departments are doing. So our Office of Management and Budget has been using the platform to bolster their budget engagements since 2021. This past year, they had such a great and innovative way where they had these really robust in-person engagements, and then they were directing people back to the online surveys to make sure that residents were completely engaged in the budget process, whether they could attend in person or not. Our Department of City Planning has used the platform not only to keep residents engaged throughout the pandemic, but they also created the city's first online first neighborhood plan with the Oakland Plan. Our Department of Mobility and Infrastructure has found so many innovative ways to package huge initiatives into these hubs that give the most important information first to the residents and allow them to dive deeper when they have the time or if they want to dive deeper. And there are so many more project managers that are doing amazing things, but I'm gonna get really, really excited if I keep talking about it. So I want to take a minute and show you guys a video that we submitted for this proposal to kind of help you understand how we got here. How do we ask our communities questions about change? A 2017 Pittsburgh working group collaborated with staff to create a set of standards and goals for equitable engagement.
Change in the city usually starts from the ground up with neighborhood groups, block clubs, and passionate people. This means that we always have to think of engagement strategies and tools as being dynamic, easy to use, and easy to access.
Now the public can go and access parks, public space, roadway, other projects where they really get the opportunity to see what's going on in the city and in their neighborhoods. And they have the opportunity to provide their input and in a way that really is transparent and hopefully shows and is able to prove the importance of that input that they're providing to us.
Pittsburgh's culture of engagement has grown exponentially since we started this work a few years ago. What started as a city planning effort to reach out to people online during the pandemic has really grown into this citywide platform that almost every single department in our city is using to engage with its residents. Before EngagePGH, someone might be able to attend 1 or 2 meetings over an entire planning period, but now they can be involved at every phase in a way that meets their needs and their schedule. Being able to deploy this kind of digital engagement in conjunction with other forms of public participation has allowed us to reach a significantly larger audience.
Social Pinpoint offers so many options for gathering feedback and sharing information that we were able to tailor our engagement efforts to specific audiences.
We can be able to show what our responses were from the public and how that directly translates into policy that we write or plans that we create.
EngagePGH allows us to present information in a much more interactive and dynamic way that also provides accessibility accommodations we may not be able to provide in person. EngagePGH is an incredible tool in our public engagement toolkit that allows for increased transparency and genuine community feedback. And not only that, it serves as an archive for the work that we have done, the work we're continuing to do, and the work that we hope to start in the days and weeks to come.
Hello, my name is Ed Gainey, EDGAINY, Mayor of the great city of Pittsburgh. Today, we're here to talk about EngagePGH. Now more than ever, it is important that our projects, processes, and decisions are driven by equitable community engagement. My administration is committed to providing our residents with access to tools they need to thrive. And EngagePGH is an incredible tool that helps us do that. I look forward to our continued work with this platform to build a Pittsburgh full of safe neighborhoods, welcoming communities, and thriving people. The city of Pittsburgh is honored to accept the IAP2 Core Value Award for Organization of the Year. We are very grateful and we thank you.
So now I would like to welcome up Sophie Robeson, who is taking off her Social Pinpoint hat and putting on her IAP2 committee member hat to present the award.
Hi, I have a really wonderful sort of job here today, which is to actually present this award to Mayor Gainey, which has not been damaged while sitting in my living room for the last 6 months, maybe. Not only do I have my own background, having worked with the city of Pittsburgh for a handful of years, but have since moved on and worked as an engagement professional in the United States and Canada now, including serving on a board with IAP2 and helping to develop their public engagement trainings, which are really wonderful. So putting on my IAP2 board member hat, Mayor Gainey, I'd love to invite you up to present you with your award. Thank you.
So I know our team is gonna be mad because I'm gonna switch it up. They should be used to this. Can I have, Audrey, Laura, Andrew, come on up? Did I miss anybody?
Sophie can come up.
Sophie,
Yeah, Sophie, come on up.
come on. Did I miss anybody?
I don't think so.
Huh? Call them out, call them out.
Sharonda, do you wanna come on up?
Come on, yeah, you know, all back to looking all shy and all that. You know, I tell people, a lot of mayors, they come up here and accept an award and tell you what a phenomenal job and how grateful they are. But, you know, I tell people this all the time. One, if you know me, you know how much I believe in engagement. That's number one. I come from that type of a background where engagement means everything to me. I think that the more people are engaged, the more we can reach people, the better we are as a society. I believe that. I believe the reason why people stay in poverty is because they don't know. They're not engaged to the knowledge that can help them grow. And so I'm always aware of that and cognizant of that whatever I do, to try to make sure that information is reaching people in a real-time way that allows them to grow, not just to stay status quo. But you can't do that. You know, I can't stand up here and act like this was my idea. I would love to accept the award on behalf of the city, and I will, but I want to thank everybody that's here right now. Because honestly, that they did this work. They did this work. Audrey has been talking about this for a minute and a half. I'm step to the mic. A minute and a half, and then, you know, another minute. Is that good? Another minute? I thought I could talk back there. A minute and a half, but I mean, I just want to make sure that the people that did the work get the recognition. Because I've been around a lot of elected officials, believe me, and they all like to come up here. And that's fine, but we don't always recognize the people that make it happen. And so I want each one of them to stand up here real quick, 30 seconds or less, because I know we got a long day, instead of me reading all this. And I want them to tell you why it meant something to them. I already share why it meant something to me. Audrey, I want you to start, and then I want everybody to share. I don't want the political talk, you know that. Oh, this is really a nice project. We did a great, I don't want none of that. I want you to tell people why this means something to you. All right?
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, well, now I might actually cry. So I came to the city, before the vaccine was readily available. I moved to Pittsburgh and I didn't know anyone, right? And I got to get involved with this platform through Andrew and through Sophie, and then later Sharonda and Marty and so many other people. And
Where's Marty?
Marty's right there. She's right there. She's not gonna come up. No, she's gonna come up. Yay! So this platform was really my gateway into Pittsburgh. It was my gateway into meeting people. It was my gateway into learning what the city was up to. It was my gateway into learning about public process and public meetings in a way that I had never really had the experience of doing. And I just got to meet so many city employees that were doing work. I got to learn so many things about planning and mobility and public works and management and budget, things that like I never thought that I would have the opportunity to learn about. And it's just been, like I said earlier, it's been a labor of love, and I'm grateful to everyone who has helped me. I'm grateful to everyone who has recognized the work that we've done on the platform. Yeah, I'm just grateful.
So I'm really happy that we're here with EngagePGH. I mean, it was started because we were in the pandemic and we had really no way to talk to people. And, you know, we are in a different place now. And we could have just shelved this and we could have said, okay, well, you know, we're back to doing engagement as usual. And the way that, I mean, this isn't a city planning project. This is a city project now. And what was started as a city planning project is now being used by everyone. You know, it is where people are able to find information that they might not have been able to find information after a community meeting or after talking to a city employee. And so the way that it's blossomed has really been just really exciting to see. And, you know, we're really excited to continue to work on it and bring even more to the public and our residents.
Hi, everybody. So full transparency, I came from a similarly sized city government before I joined the city of Pittsburgh 2 years ago.
You don't
And
want
I-
to say the name.
And I,
It's in Ohio.
Yeah, it's in Ohio.
It's all right. It's all right.
got on the right path. But essentially, I had not seen anything this robust and this user-friendly with this much functionality in the engagement space. And so coming here and seeing how many people are actually using this for information and how many people actually go back and forth to look at the different projects and the updates was really, really amazing to me. I think the lifeblood of what we do here at the city really is community voice and also what they want to see for the future. And so to be able to capture that and to be able to have that place where people can go and share that is paramount to good work and also to really being accountable to citizens and moving forward with progress and dignity for the entire city. So this is what this means to me.
Yeah, if we're keeping it, not political, like none of that, then I would just say that it forces us to be better coordinated internally. If I know that another department is gonna be launching a project in a neighborhood that I'm doing, like, we don't wanna both be having things out there and not know about it. So it really has promoted a lot more coordination between departments and things like that, and it allows us to take projects through planning into implementation, whether that's DOMI or DPW, and that can all be continued on either the same page or can build upon the work that we do on each page. So it really, I think, has improved work internally as well as everyone has said, the work we do externally.
You gotta go last.
Yeah. Oh, Mary, all right, so Sophie.
Yeah. Bit of an interloper here. I'm not a city employee anymore. It's really beautiful to get to start to build something and to have people around you who support a crazy idea and kind of let you try something new and creative and then to walk away and see it continue to live its own life. And so just really honored to even still be involved in this way and really proud of all the people on this panel and the work that they do. And now working with so many other cities and towns all over the United States and Canada, what you guys are doing is awesome. And the city of Pittsburgh should be really proud of itself. And obviously there's room for growth, but what's happening here is awesome. And it's really, really cool to see it continue to live.
Why? I mean, so, okay, a bit of a backstory. I've been with the city for 6 months and EngagePGH is was basically told to me was like a third of the job, but it's more like 50%. But I am so grateful because I didn't think I was gonna be a city employee. I came to Pittsburgh to be a journalist, I should say. And then when that did not pan out, I was like, I'm gonna leave. I'm not staying. And then when Rebecca Rinaldo, my supervisor, reached out and was like, hey, this job is here and so on and so forth. And I ended up getting the job and talking to Audrey more and more. And I was like, this means I get to keep doing the thing that I feel so passionately about, which is informing the public, and I actually get kind of semi-unfettered access to the people who are doing all the things, and I get to be like, you need to update stuff because the public wants to know, and I still get to serve people, and it just is the thing I think I'm meant to do, which I didn't really think was a thing people say about their lives. And so I just feel so honored. I mean, Audrey has just set this platform up for success and I get to just take it and, make it bigger and brighter and more beautiful and still get to hold her hand along the way and make sure is this still in line with this vision that you had? And how are we making sure this is moving forward in a way that is serving all of you? So that's the answer to that.
First, I want to thank
IAP2.
yeah, there we go, IAP2 for this award. I really do, thank you. But I, want to thank everybody behind me because I'll be honest, this city is ran in silence. From the government to our neighborhoods, this city is ran in silence. And we always need tools that help us break down silence. And this is a tool that definitely helps break down silence. we as a neighborhood, the reason why I asked you to tell me why you love your neighborhood, because I'm gonna tell you why it's all connected at the end. Our city is a unique city. Our neighborhoods, if you go to any other city, our neighborhoods, their neighborhoods is about, I don't care if it's West Virginia, Buffalo, Cleveland, DC. A neighborhood is usually between 10 to 20 square miles. Here they're 4.2 square miles, 3.2 square miles. Where Angela Williams lived was like 0.9 square miles. So we're small, but we're closely knitted. And the love that you have in one has to connect to the love that you have in another. Because we don't have that much of a space to be divided. What has divided us through the years is just our silence, our ability to be silent. And this helps us out a great deal to remove that. I want a united city, not a divided. And that helps when you got people, and you've heard what they said, a lot of them didn't even grow up in the city. So they don't have the same mindset that a lot of us, such as myself, grew up in, of being silent. I don't want this city to be silent for anybody. I want tools to bring us together. Love is contagious. And the more that we can pour into our neighborhoods, whether they 0.9 or 4.2, or I'm up Lincoln Leamington, it's 3.8, doesn't matter. I always tell people that sometimes we got to get away from the invisible lines and really look at each other for who we are as a city. And the more that we do that, and the more that we have tools that help us get there, then we won't be a 90 neighborhood city. We'll be one beautiful city that respects 90 neighborhoods. So I want to thank you for this award, because this means we're in the process of breaking down silos. God bless and thanks. All right, come on, y'all, let's get a picture now.
Oh, we gotta grab a picture. All right, Diego's gonna come. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, so we have one more item on our agenda, and I could not think of a better way to spend International Women's Day than to come together in a little fireside chat style discussion with some of the incredible women that were already up here and who are doing this work every day. So I would like to invite up Marty Battistone, Principal Planner for the Department of City Planning, Sharonda Watley, who is our Assistant Director of Strategic Planning, Laura Susui, who is our Digital Engagement Coordinator, and Sophie Robeson, who is the Head of Practice for Social Pinpoint. And myself, I'm Audrey Wells. Hello, everyone. We're gonna come over here and chit chat now.
We would like this to be an intimate fireside chat, so if anyone wants to move up, please feel free.
We're just saying that y'all are too spread out, stop being silent, move on up and get unified, yeah, come on.
This working? Yes, it is. Hello, you guys, yes, this is all working, and then we'll share. Okay. So Jax, thank you so much for coming. Wow. Okay, so, Sophie, let's start with you. So, you, like you said, have been with the city you were with the city before we had EngagePGH. So can you tell us a little bit about what engagement looked like in the city of Pittsburgh before we developed this platform? Yeah, here we go. Hello? Okay. Hello.
And Marty is a colleague who can also speak to this, and I think really wonderfully. The city of Pittsburgh has always given space to be very creative with public engagement, which is a really fun spot to be in. And the in-person public engagement that we were doing prior had a real emphasis on trying to find creative ways to listen and think about how we were using the feedback that we were collecting. I think there's a large emphasis when you're designing public engagements on just being present and creating space for people to share ideas. And that one of the things that I got to observe in sort of the build up to COVID, as we were creating the public engagement guide, was taking a step back and saying, oh, wow, we have people all over the city doing public engagement, and none of them are trained in public engagement. And they're all doing something in their own way, and they're all champions in that way.
Yeah.
And they've all found different strategies to be creative and to be successful. How could we bring all those places together? And so that was kind of what was culminating when COVID changed sort of that landscape. And I think that was really exciting to see, was the city staff starting to talk to each other about their engagement strategies and kind of professionalize in that way.
Yeah, so you mentioned the public engagement guide, Marty. I'm gonna have you answer this question too. But so you mentioned the public engagement guide. Could you tell us a little bit about like what that is and kind of how you used what you were just talking about, this idea of all of these people championing in different areas to kind of codify into this public engagement guide, and what that process was like for you?
So we started in 2017, looking for Andrew to help me remember the years, thank you. We were working on some very large scale planning projects, and Pittsburgh's obviously a city experiencing a lot of change. And kind of realized by looking at peers around the United States that before we could ask questions about change, we first had to ask how people wanted to be asked those questions. Because it's a big question to ask. And it's easy to do that, I think, in a way that's not very respectful. And so we embarked on this process of creating what was called a public engagement working group. And it was a group of 40 members of 40 city residents from all over, and representing a lot of different communities and perspectives. It's a really, really cool group. And they met 4 or 5 times, and we organized this process to get their feedback on how they wanted to be asked questions by the city. And then created a bit of a guidebook. And what was cool was that as that process went on, I think it was Andrew who mentioned that, you know, started as a planning project and grew to be a city project, that we started talking to employees in other departments, and they're like, hold on, I want this too. And so we embarked on a bit of an effort to sort of not generalize it, but grow it.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting. We got to do focus groups with staff in lots of different departments, and kind of learn how they were doing engagement and what struggles they were running into, and where I think where a public meeting goes wrong, right? And how do you build respect and trust with the public when you're doing these things while simultaneously giving your staff enough support to be successful. And so that was the public engagement guide. It was accepted by Planning Commission in 2019, I think in the fall. So about 6 months later, some kind of all of the guidelines we put in there for how to do public engagement. We couldn't use any of them.
Sure.
Yeah, and so that was kind of the premise. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, now Marty, we're gonna shift it over to you, because you're the other kind of OG planning person.
She's calling me old.
I'm not calling Marty old, for the record. So can you tell us a little bit, answer that same question. So what did engagement look like for you before the pandemic? And then also, you are one of our top users on EngagePGH. That's a huge undertaking. Marty spends a lot of time on the platform doing a lot of our parks planning. You should check out some of her projects. They're awesome. And so could you tell us about, so in addition to talking about what it looked like, how was it before? How was that shift? And then what is it like now? And what are some of your favorite projects that you're working on?
And I want this to be really interactive, so I might ask some questions of my own at the end.
Yeah.
But so basically Sophie and I did, she was the neighborhood planner, working in the West End. And so one of the biggest projects I had pre-COVID was the Sheridan Park Master Plan. I don't know how many of you have ever been to Sheridan Park. It's this like amazing gem. It's sort of in a bowl. And so even a lot of residents we found didn't really even know it was there, or, weren't utilizing it. And so it was really important to us to ensure that the plan reflected what residents would actually use, how they were getting to the park currently, how that could be improved. And so that engagement, while very robust, we got a lot of great attendance. It was pretty much one public meeting at the Healthy Active Living Center every, 3 or 4 months for each phase of the park plan. And if you couldn't make it from, 5 to 7 p.m. on that one day, there wasn't really a great mechanism unless you, kind of hunted down one of our emails to provide feedback that way. It really, that's sort of how that was the standard. That's how we were doing engagement. And it was great at the time. I felt really good about it. But now looking back, it's, there are just like a range of inequalities and obstacles to people being able to participate that way. And so now, when we do park plans or really anything, we still try to ensure that there is, some element of in-person engagement. We know that there's some barriers to technology, not as many, I think, as I originally would have assumed about having, sort of an online platform. But a lot of it is a hybrid. We try to make sure that the things that are being captured on the website can be sort of replicated in person and vice versa. So I think it really pushes us to ensure that the materials we're putting out, whether it's a plan diagram, can be ingested and explained without any additional context. If I'm not there in person to walk someone through a process or feedback, that all needs to be pretty self-explanatory on the website. And so that has been, I think, one of the biggest shifts in how we do engagement now and, the way that we create materials. So I don't know if any of you have, we really try to ensure that when we're working in specific neighborhoods, we learn, what's the most effective way to reach those residents. So I don't know if any of you have thoughts about your specific neighborhoods and ways that might be unique to you in terms of how you engage with the people that you represent. You don't have to answer, but I just, that's what we try to find is basically the beginning of every process is what are the places where we can be publicizing the website or public meetings? What are the spaces that people are already going to? And just trying to jump in to kind of things that are already happening versus creating standalone meetings. We know everyone is meeting out. So I think that also has been a big shift.
I think, Marty, you make a really good point about this idea of using an online engagement platform like Engage in a way that we can replicate it in person, right? And so this one I'm going to direct at you, Sharonda. So as we are launching into this comprehensive planning process, right? You have experience from your city in Ohio that we're not going to name unless you want to. But you have experience with comprehensive planning, right? And you were doing that comprehensive planning, I think, pre-COVID from what I understand. And so how, did you guys have that kind of engagement, that online engagement aspect? And what was it like coming from a city of a similar size into a city that had such a such a robust digital engagement platform when you came in?
No, that's a really, really great question. We did have sort of the social media and an online engagement platform. It was not as robust. And as a matter of fact, as I'm thinking about it, it was probably outdated even then for that time, even before COVID. And so having something like EngagePGH and having this sort of platform and not only having it accessible on sort of the traditional sort of computer, but also what it looks like on mobile devices and tablets. So we know that communities have been digitally redlined across the entire country. And so while folks may not have access to stable and affordable internet and things like that, they do have access to sort of a smartphone. And so that digital interface and the ease in which they're able to use it even on something like a personal cellular cell phone device is really key so that people can actually provide their input and give feedback on projects that are impacting their neighborhood on their own time and on their own devices, regardless of having to go to a community meeting or having sort of at-home internet service. And then also just thinking about something that my young staff who do public engagement, they call it, it's a new term to me, digital. So Marty had talked about, having materials that translate both online, but also in person, and what that looks like and what that feels like is really key. And so I totally appreciate, you know, technology and a platform like this, but also having, sort of, that coordination of in person and also digital is really important. Even as we start to think about, the comprehensive plan and, how we want to engage people in the different ways that we want to provide avenues and options for people to, give their feedback and see themselves in that plan for the city.
What's that word?
Digital.
FIGIT. Okay, I didn't know this. Sorry. You're gonna have to ask my young staff.
We're gonna have to do a follow-up
Yeah.
panel just to talk about what digital means.
Digital.
I think, Sharonda, you bring up a really great point, though. So I think one thing that we hear a lot when we're talking about this idea of digital engagement is the digital divide, right? There are a lot of people who don't have ready access to internet, who don't have the digital literacy to be able to kind of interact in a digital platform. So I think a question that maybe all of us can kind of think through, and whoever wants to go first can jump in, but how do we address that? How do we address the digital divide? How do we talk about this idea of online engagement and everybody moving to this online first perspective? How do we address the digital divide in that space?
Anyone out here have fun?
I think that anybody, I'm kind of loud.
That's for the live stream. We're just gonna let you have it for the live stream.
I think that anybody should be able to go to their public library, their senior center, any other public spaces that are, the warm shelters, anywhere, and be able to very easily log on, that you should not have to make a password that you have to remember or carry with you, that you should not have to struggle to find what this is.
Sure.
And I don't know how you would get that information out. You know, you're not gonna have it as a tab saved on every computer in the city.
Sure.
But there should really be an easy way. Like, I'm logged in all the time because I have a device that's just mine.
Right.
I don't have to remember my password. I have a smartphone that saves all my pass keys, and it's very easy for me. And that would be really great for people to be able to access those things wherever they're getting their internet connection.
Sure, absolutely.
Can I just say, so, Oakland was the test neighborhood, I think, for EngagePGH.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed, yes. And it was sort of, because things sort of fell apart, that we really started to rely on it as a platform. And what was remarkable was the learning experience it provided to us about how many people we had inadvertently been leaving out of our engagement. But then alternatively, as a result of relying so heavily on EngagePGH, there were populations that we could not reach throughout the Oakland plan process. And those are people who have, no specific digital access, and people who didn't already know to come looking.
Sure.
So one of the things that we struggle with a lot in Oakland is that the public library or the places like that are not specifically neighborhood serving. Like, we have the CLP&A, and like, you come to Oakland for the things that are serving the city or the region, and very few spaces that are actually there to serve the people who live in Oakland. And so it's not as obvious that you would necessarily go to look for your neighborhood, things that are happening in your backyard, in one of the spaces that is sort of just open to the people in the way that things are. So one of the things that we learned about engagement as a result is that you can't just rely on the one platform. Sure. Not only can we not just stick our shingle out and say, we're having a public meeting, not just only can we not like email our list, because there's lots of people who are like, what email? We've started a paper newsletter where we summarize some of the things that are happening, check this out, call these people, do this, this is happening. And I'm working on trying to expand that outreach. But at some point we're gonna have to get back to door knocking, which is what we did way back in the day. Oakland is large and it's a very challenging thing for us to do, but because the population turns over so fast, it is a constant battle to reintroduce and to reincorporate. And reconnect, and we never get a chance to stop. Like, you know, other neighborhoods where everybody knows each other, there's some of that in Oakland, so you can attest, right? But then there's also vast quantities of it where people arrived literally yesterday and they're gonna be gone next week, so that's part of our challenge. Yeah. But can I just say, we also really appreciate the archival quality that the thing represents. Because then, you know, even for months or years or whatever afterwards, we can say, here's where that project is, and here, look, see, we made those comments in 2019. And it's like, it's preserved, but it's also not enough. So the city was going to just keep Oakland Plan as an engaged thing. If you don't know about it, you're never going to be, like, there does need to be a paper copy. The platform will at some point be inaccessible, and its later versions will not allow you to access the information that was there. It's going to be a long challenge to make something archival that is meant to be so flexible and so responsive and mutable. So some kind of permanent record is very helpful, some kind of indexing process, right, to keep people connected to what things were.
So I just want to say, as somebody who has seen the back end of how some of this stuff works, the way that the platform allows us to host an in-person meeting, run the platform, run some of the vision boards or some of the mapping exercises with the people that are able to be there with us in person, in tandem at the same time, live streaming through Zoom or whatever, running that with people at home. All at the same time, people can see what other people are doing. People can see everything in real time. It's all in the same place, which is great for data capturing afterwards, which is one of the main issues that we would run into with recording public comments and recording digital comments and mushing those together at the end to come up with a seamless summary of what people actually told us. And I think this platform does a really good job of capturing that. And it does a really good job of exploiting that data in a way that we can add those public comments to. So not that I have anything really too instructive to tell you guys, but more just a pat on the back of saying, so far so good. I think it's working really well. There's obviously always going to be barriers to overcome and new ways to do things, and always thinking of how we can do better, always do better. But so far, I think that it has worked out really, really well.
It was occurring to me, and maybe Sharonda, we can talk about this, that this would be a really great way to think about its future development or growth or usefulness, to kind of even the playing field across different neighborhood organizations that may or may not have the capacity to host their own website, or like actually, you know, communicate to a broader audience about what kinds of things they have been going on. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if there was like a neighborhood section where you can become one of those back-end users to be able to keep that kind of stuff in one place where people all know to look for it? It's easier to, we've talked about this too, it's easier to send people to one spot all the time than it is to reinvent all the time.
I think that's a great segue.
Wow, funny you should mention
Yeah.
that. No. So yeah, we currently do have partners, some partners like the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy, who use EngagePGH sort of in tandem with city staff to update the public on various projects and, you know, sort of present that. But another thing that we've been working on also is creating, couldn't come up with a better name for it. So, but a neighborhood services hub where we can try to, you know, really centralize that list of all of the public engagement meetings that are coming up. So it's not just, I'm interested in this particular bridge, so I'm going to look at this bridge's page, but more like, I'm kind of interested in just being more involved. Let me see what meetings are coming up. A better place for you to see where your engagement coordinator, like who your engagement coordinator is. I know many of you were invited by them, but maybe, I don't know, maybe you have a resident who's like, I just came here, but I actually don't live in this neighborhood, and you can tell them who that is. And also just kind of like be a little more active and dynamic about updating when things are happening, and where, rather. And I'm hoping that we will come up with some sort of way to make that a little more collaborative with groups and posting about their meetings. I'm not sure what that will look like. So stay tuned on that.
So you're talking about some of the updates that you're planning on making and first of all, let me give Laura some kudos because Laura jumped in and has really started to kind of rethink how we're utilizing the platform, right? She's created this neighborhood services hub. She's trying to make sure that all of this information is centralized. So along that vein, one of the pieces of feedback that we'll sometimes get is that people will go and look at the Oakland plan, for example, that's an implementation, or they'll look at a plan that's, you know, it says that it's still in project design, but we're well into construction. So can you talk to us a little bit about, you know, in this new age of EngagePGH, what does that process for updating look like? And like, what is that gonna look like for us moving forward?
Yeah, I guess I'll start this with a question of like, how many of you have looked at an Engage page and been like, this is not updated? Everybody raise your hand. I know, and I'm sorry. Is how I will start. You have to acknowledge the problem. So yeah, that's one of the things that I am working on as like the incomer. There's only so long I can say, I don't know. But I do know, and I'm working on a cadence of like regularly updating pages that maybe don't have super active updates. So we've moved out of the phase of really actively accepting feedback, and now we're kind of just in the construction phase, but making sure that we didn't forget about this page, and if there are comments rolling in, we are still looking at them. And so I'm in the process of basically making sure that I touch every single page on some regular cadence, not once a year, not every 6 months, but maybe every 3 months or something more reasonable. And also just making sure I create some agreements between myself and the project managers that they touch the pages and make sure they're up to date, because my job is not herding cats, it's running this website. So I don't just want to be emailing them saying, please tell me what is happening. So that's something that I am working on, and, you know, would love to make sort of like a promise to you all that I can say in a year, we've got a more regular schedule that's going on, instead of someone just saying, this is so outdated, like, and frankly, like, that's a breakage of trust. Like, I understand and I agree. So, one of the things that I'm working on with my colleagues, Jan Rather, who just snuck in, hi Jan, and Matt, who's on the neighborhood services team, Matt Klink is our analyst, is creating a user survey that I will send to all of you, because I want to know what you like about the site, what's useful and what's not working for you, because also this is like, being that I'm like fresh blood, I am really interested also in just leaning into what's working and either rejiggering or whatever, moving away from what's not, and getting your like honest feedback, because I am new and I don't have a strong attachment to anything yet, so my feelings aren't hurt yet.
So yes, Sophie is going to add in something before I ask our final question.
I was gonna add, I think, like looking at the larger engagement context, especially in the greater United States, most major cities don't have engagement professionals on staff. And they have communications professionals, and then they have subject matter experts like planners, landscape architects, and engineers. And when you look at that landscape across the US, it's been changing in the last few years. And there's been an acknowledgement that the engagement strategies have been extremely decentralized across cities, because there's no one to kind of corral it and create some standards and consistency. The city of Pittsburgh tackled this with the approach of saying, hey, if this is decentralized, that's a problem we're going to fix later, right? We've created this guide, so we're giving staff some idea of how we want them to do things. But we need action now. And so this ended up being a system that allowed that work to continue in a decentralized way. And Laura, right, is an outcome of saying, okay, hey, we've created a big piece of work here. We need to start bringing it together and creating some real resources and professionalize that. And so what you're seeing really actively right now on not just EngagePGH, but on in terms of the city's entire engagement approach is an effort to really invest in making sure that residents are having a positive experience. With engagement, the most important tenet from a best practice perspective is that every interaction has to build trust. And when you're talking about equity in particular, right, you're asking a resident, a member of the public to give you a little bit of trust by answering the question that you need the answer to. And seeing the city investing this way in its staff is an effort to continue building that trust. So just do a hard job.
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, I know we're sitting up here, but we're like preaching to the choir because you all who are, you know, in the communities are literally the professionals. And so I really mean it when I say, like, please give me your feedback, because and to Sophie's point, like, I come from a journalism background, and the industry is both deteriorating and also trying to move into doing more engagement, because I think that the people who have been running these institutions for forever and ever are realizing that it is not centering the communities who matter them, or the communities who have been most disadvantaged, underinvested the entire time. And so, you know, I am so appreciative that, like, we're sitting here because, Pittsburgh is like putting its money where its mouth is for trying to do this. And like, I also am saying, like, seriously, please, like, I want to hear it, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything. Otherwise, it breaks that trust, and it means that you're not going to tell anyone to go to EngagePGH because it's not accurate and it's not helpful. And that's not the point.
And I think just to kind of build on this work that we're doing with EngagePGH, our neighborhood services team is doing so much work. They are out in your neighborhoods every week. They're going to your public meetings. They're knocking on doors. They're, planning events in high and extreme need neighborhoods. So we see you and we hear you, and we understand that there have been large areas of this city that have been disinvested in, and we're working on fixing it. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week, but we are trying, right? So like Laura said, please give us your feedback. Your feedback is what drives us. Your feedback is what gives us the direction that we need to go in. It kind of tells us where our investments need to go. We want to hear from you, and just know that we see you and we're working on it. So we're nearing the end of our time. So I want to end us on a positive note. So I want to kind of talk, I want to go down the line, and I want to talk about what's something that you're most excited about, either with the EngagePGH platform itself, or with civic engagement in Pittsburgh, or just whatever you're most excited about with the work that you're doing. Sharonda, we'll start down there with you.
I think I'm most excited about just really having a deep conversation with people across the city. And so however we do that, however we manage that, is something that I'm really, really interested in.
I'm most excited about seeing our park plans be moved into that page being managed by the Department of Public Works, which means it is going into design and construction and things being built, and just seeing that all come to life, both in real life and on the page.
I'm excited about seeing the city of Pittsburgh kind of taking place on a national stage with this work, and seeing the opportunity to influence this space writ large is really cool, and acknowledging the great work and effort that's being done here, not just by the city, but also by the community members who are making that.
So I don't know if it was clear from my little diatribe up there earlier, but like, I'm not originally from Pittsburgh, and so I'm most excited about going out to the neighborhoods with the coordinators so that I can like supplement the EngagePGH pages and projects, and also the newsletter. Subscribe, please. And just learn what's good Pittsburgh, and learning what's going on in your neighborhoods, and just like being there for a second with you, for longer than a second, and just being like, okay, like, how do we capture this on the page, and then make sure we're responding in whatever way that's gonna look like, and documenting that, because that's how things start to move. You document it and you say, look at what we did, or what didn't happen, or whatever, and then you start moving the needle somehow, some way. This is all, as I've said like 5,000 times, very new to me, but luckily I'm optimistic, so let's do it.
I think the thing I'm most excited about is I'm excited to just continue to watch this grow. I think Sophie put it really eloquently, that it's really lovely to see something that you had such a hand in, right? And it's great to see it be successful while you're doing that work, but it's also really lovely to take a step back and to watch it continue to grow. And I'm really excited about some of the institutionalizing that Laura is doing. That's things that I desperately wanted to do for years and I just couldn't. And Laura's making it happen. And Laura's making it happen in a way that's involving the public. Our neighborhood services team is leveraging EngagePGH in a way that I never thought it could ever be leveraged. We're getting recognitions that I didn't even think were on our radar. So I'm really excited to see the people who are on the ground doing the work. I'm really excited to continue working with all of you. And as the mayor would say, let's go get it. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Great job, y'all. Great job. Thank you.
Also, we are adjourning here, but we are going to the Bigelow Grill for a open bar happy hour. Please feel free to come join us.
Thank you, everybody.